Hello, and welcome to Cast and Curious. Today, for Cast and Curious, we're going to play the game Guess Which Twin It Is. Just kidding, but I do have David here with me today.
Have we even told them that we're twins?
I think we said it in the beginning intro thing, like the trailer.
Okay.
And I feel like we should have mentioned it.
It might have been like hinted at.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm Dean, your host, and I have David with me.
Hello.
I guess to get started, the first question I always ask is, like, how did you get into D&D?
Well, I don't know if I haven't heard Trent's Cast and Curious or yours. I've heard Gordon's, but it might be the same way as you guys. We were camping, and we had some older cousins who were there, and they were talking about D&D, and all of us younger cousins, as annoying as we were like, play it with us. And so without really we had like a D6 and no character sheets, and we did the best we could. It was a mess.
It was basically just a make-believe tabletop RPG with a D6.
Yeah, it was, yeah. And so that was the first introduction, and then me and Trent really wanted to play it a lot. I remember playing just him and I a lot when we were younger because I can't remember if Trent got the starter set first or if he got the manuals, but he got stuff for birthdays and Christmases, a D&D starter set, and then he got like the three main books of D&D. And then after that, we'd play in smaller groups. There were several times me and Trent would just play one-on-one. But that was kind of the start of it.
Cool. And what was your first character?
My first character.
That you count as your first.
Yeah.
Because there's like the camp out, but it was like.
That wasn't really.
You didn't really make a character.
Yeah. My first character ever. I love him. I had a lot of fun with Trent playing with this character. His name was Rorik. His last name changed a bunch over the years, but his name was Rorik. And he was a barbarian human, but we made him as like big as a human could possibly be. So he was supposed to be just a huge, like picture like Andre the Giant, just this huge man.
Just like 7 feet tall,
yeah.
Massive.
Yeah, just, oh my goodness, just a huge guy, red hair, because all my characters have red hair, because I have red hair, and it's just a thing I do, I guess. Red hair, he had sideburns.
Does Cassiel have red hair?
Yeah, Cassiel does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He had sideburns. He was a barbarian that used, I think, a great sword. He was a totem barbarian. So then the other thing is Trent always would give us plot points. If you don't know what that is, look it up in the books. Totally broken rule of D&D, but he'd give us those, and I'd always use my plot point whenever I leveled up to say, hey, I want this health dice to be maxed. And so this barbarian, one, he's resistant to all damage but psychic, and two, he has the max health a barbarian could have.
Is that rules is written that you could do that? I know plot points is a thing, but I didn't know if that was. I remember doing that too.
Yeah. Plot points are a unique thing where it's basically like the character can be like, I'm the DM for this instance. And so I'm pretty sure you could do that with plot points. I'm not too familiar with the rules, though.
Yeah, well, it was something fun.
Yeah. The guy, Rorik, he had a black handprint burnt onto his face.
Oh.
And then he also had half his hand bit off by a dragon. So this character went through a lot of different adventures and campaigns, mostly just with Trent.
Yeah, that's cool. What drew you to D&D? Like I guess, besides the fact that we had like older cousins playing it and we just wanted to hang out with them.
Yeah. I mean, I love the fantasy genre. It's my favorite genre of any of them. High fantasy stuff with books, and they're my favorite kinds of books. And so, and then our dad is actually an author of a book, and
Paraworld Zero.
Yeah, and it's a sci-fi fantasy, and so I've always wanted to be an author, and then all of a sudden you have this game where you can, one, it's like a video game, you can build your character up and he has stats and stuff, but two, you can be actually a character in this epic adventure story. And so, I mean, when I was little, I latched onto that. That was just the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, and you get to like make decisions in the story, so it's not like in books or video games,
Yeah.
especially video games where I mean nowadays you have a little bit more choice, but like especially like before it was like Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, yeah.
You didn't actually say anything, like Link doesn't talk, and then like everything was just like the story mode was just you go through a set story, but with D&D it's like I choose what my guy does and says, and yeah.
Yeah, there's that creative freedom, which that has its draws too.
Yeah. And what was the inspiration for Cass?
So
Besides Twisted Fate.
I actually was not thinking of Twisted Fate at all when I made this. I mean, the idea of throwing cards as weapons, that was kind of the thing, which I knew about Twisted Fate, but he didn't actually cross my mind. And I actually didn't realize that the art, what's the
It's like Rune Terra or something like
yeah,
that?
I didn't realize that the subclass was from the League of Legends Rune Terra crossover book until I was creating the character and talking to Trent. I had seen it on a website. I can't remember the name of it right now, the name of the subclass, but I had seen it on a website and I was like, oh, this is interesting. And the subclass has some cool stuff. Like I chose cards, which is a lot like Twisted Fate, but you could also have chosen loaded dice, and you could also have chosen chess, and so it was super cool. And at first, when I was looking at the class, I thought that you got access to all of the things, not just cards. But with the class, you have to pick one of them. And so I picked cards because I liked the idea of throwing cards. Because it's actually, if you've never thrown cards, it's kind of fun.
Yeah. And then I guess for his, like, who he is. Because he's like a Hexblood, and I don't know, his family issues, and this interview or this Cast and Curious will release along with your backstory episode.
Cool.
So people will be listening to that either right after this or before this.
Awesome. Yeah, so you get to know that Cassiel is just a sad dad at the time of the campaign.
But you didn't give him the dad bod.
No, he doesn't have the dad bod because he fits part. So Cassiel's design, red hair, because I got red hair. That's a must. I wanted Cassiel because the thing about D&D is you've got your tropes. You got the edgy rogue, and so I wanted him to be reminiscent of the edgy rogue. But at the same time, I wanted to play him a little bit more like a bard, which kind of fits the subclass. And then, but at the same time, there's also the whole because there's those tropes. The new trope is kind of the thing that I have a happy family and nothing bad has ever happened. And so I wanted it to feel like Cassiel had a happy family, and knows what's that like, instead of just he grew up an orphan and stuff like that. No, he had a good life until one thing happened.
Now he's just the other trope of like the old man who's lost everything.
Oh yeah, pretty much. Cassiel, because he's like elf, is like young, but like you'll have listened to the episode. He's hundreds of years old mentally.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the thing. And he's a family guy. He's a family man. Which is, I think, something that not lots of rogue characters have, is that maybe?
Yeah, I feel like they're normally like, I feel like rogues are self-driven or whatever, like self. I mean, I don't want to put them in a box. Like I've seen a lot of rogues played differently as well. But yeah.
But like the idea of the rogue is self-driven, and so I like that he's kind of a family guy.
Yeah. But
yeah, so that was kind of the inspiration for him. The other thing that I wanted to portray was addiction and what that does to a person, because it's a huge problem, changes people's lives, and like D&D, lots of times you're just a bunch of murder hobos going around to every tavern, getting all the girls, killing all the enemies, drinking all the beer or whatever, and that lifestyle's not healthy. And in real life, like, there are some major consequences to some of these behaviors, and his addiction is gambling, so it's not like a substance one or anything like that, but it is something that like drastically affects his thinking.
Yeah, and we haven't really seen much of that in the actual story.
You haven't really been
that
anywhere.
we've recorded. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see that come up later on.
Yeah, and he has some major traumas. He's kind of crazy, though he plays it off like he's not. There was one time in the campaign where he started counting coins, and then he restarted counting the coins he had, and Blank was like, "Are you good?"
Well, yeah, I think I remember editing that. Blank was like, "Are you just double checking?" And you were like, "Oh yeah, just double checking."
Yeah, but like he had just finished counting, and then he just starts recounting. And if you listen to the episode, there's a little tidbit in there about that.
Cool. And then what about Hexblood?
So Hexblood is interesting because if you know what a Hexblood is, they're related to hags, which are highly magical creatures, and they can't have kids. They make kids with other people, like magically in their body, or like they create it out of like a Frankenstein monster type of deal. Hexbloods are a really cool race. I don't know how that works in Trent's world. I left that.
Is your mom a hag?
No. His mom is not a hag. She's not a hag. And she doesn't. We talked about that in the character episode. She does not like to talk about how it all came to pass. So Cassiel has no idea how he came into existence. He's not like his mom, and he knows he does not have a dad. Like, there is no biological father. And so, but what it means to be a Hexblood in Trent's world, because Trent does hags a little differently than normal, I have no idea how it's going to be. That's something that's going to come up along the story.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. What made you decide to do it, though?
I liked the idea of building this character focused, how his life was so focused around gold and money. And then I thought of what I could have him wear to represent that. And I thought of the Roman gold laurel. And then I was like, oh, but would he wear like that crown kind of around? Oh, well, I'll just move on. And then I was looking at some of the more exotic races, and I saw the Hexblood, which is just super cool to me. And the idea that you can have such like variation of skin color and what grows out of their forehead, because that is a thing for them. And I liked that, and it kind of coexisted with my thoughts about the golden laurel.
Yeah, and he's the king of gambling, right?
Yeah, king of gambling, and he's got the crown, and it's made of gold, and he's got one of his gambling nicknames was I'm forgetting it. He's got like bronze skin, almost metallic, and so one of the nicknames was Bronze Mask, like Poker Face. He's great with cards, so one of the nicknames was the Card Coin Prince, and then the other nickname was the Gilded Hand, like a hand of cards. But then his whole theme, especially when he was gambling, was gold, everything covered in gold, like his crown, and so it kind of plays into his motif.
That's cool. Yeah, we really haven't seen much of that with him yet.
No, it's like Cassiel, he's like semi-open. If somebody really pressed him for background stuff, he would share. But if it's just like a passing comment, depending on the situation, he'll probably try to just pass it off. Because it is... He's not shy, but he's a little guarded when it comes to that kind of thing, just because he doesn't want people to hate him.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, maybe Trent will put an NPC in your path that'll push, because I don't think Vesper or Blank we haven't been pushy so far.
No, you haven't been, and there have been, like, I've noticed, and I've talked to Trent about it, there have been things for both of your guys' backstory that have popped up just because it makes sense for them to be in a Cheta. For Cassiel, a lot of his stuff will be in Shays, some of it might be in like Braum, and there's only like like a few things that could show up in a Cheta, and then some things that I don't know about, and so I have no idea where they'd show up. And so I've talked to Trent, and Trent's like, I've got things to show up for your background, but it doesn't make sense yet.
Yeah. Well, there was that book of
That's true.
the golem making or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, what's funny is I talked to Trent about that, and Trent had always planned for this book to be about golem making, which I didn't talk about in Cassiel's character episode, because that's deeper background stuff that wasn't necessary for it. But Cassiel's family is related to magic technology, like his mom and his grandparents, and Trent did not plan for that to be a connection at all. I just asked him in episode, wait, is that related? And he was like, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I do think one of the motifs of Cassiel is that king motif. He's the king of gambling. He's the king, and then he's a fallen king. Kind of plays a lot into how I play him. And then the side of him that's like a family man is if he's lost everything and he's trying to rebuild and trying to do better, he like has a sense of duty towards that. And like early episodes, like he was like, we need a group name. And he's like, I'll help you, stranger, who I just met yesterday, go across the ocean and stuff like that. And because he's looking for a family. He's definitely a character looking for somewhere to belong.
That's cool. All right, so maybe... well, thanks for talking about Cass. That's a lot I didn't even know about. And hopefully, yeah. And I've heard Trent also say, yeah, that he's got plans to include Cass's backstory a little bit more.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll see that. Moving on to some questions more about you as David. I guess, what are some of your hobbies? What do you like to do?
So I do enjoy reading, though I haven't found myself a book in a long time because I'm busy work and doing school. I do spend the little free time I have is normally I play a number of different games. Games or reading stuff like manga or watching TV. I have like odd hours for work and school, and so I don't have a lot of time to sit down and like spend a lot of time unless I procrastinate my responsibilities, which I am prone to do sometimes. But yeah, so I play games like Overwatch, League of Legends, Terraria lately. Baldur's Gate has been fun. Some older ones people might not know about, but yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. The procrastination part.
Yeah.
When you want to relax, you just push off. My wife sent me a reel that was like, oh, what was it? It's some guy on Instagram. I don't know his name. But some guy, and he's always like, he's making fun of social things, and he's always like, hee, and then he's laughing. He's like, but don't worry, it's free 99, and you can get stress. What did he call it? He's like stress laxing or something like that, and he's like, you can stress about stressing, or I don't know. It was
stress
just like
about relaxing.
Stress about relaxing, and I was like, oh, so true.
Yeah, busy lives.
Okay, so with that, you mentioned you're still in school and stuff. What are your, I guess, goals, or what do you want to be when you grow up, kind of thing?
Right now, I've been thinking a lot about, so my major is in psychology, and so, therapy is kind of like the direction I'm heading, but like there have been thoughts that cross my mind about working like as like a school psychologist, less school, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd ever want to teach, at like a collegiate level or anything like that, but if I could like teach at like a high school level, that could be fun. So that'd be somewhere I could go. But yeah, therapy probably is the direction I'm heading.
Okay, cool. What got you into that?
We have therapists in our family. Our grandma, several of our uncles are therapists, and so we've seen kind of that around the place. I've been to therapy. Everyone should go to therapy. Everyone probably needs therapy of some kind, and so it's something that's not everyone's going to need it forever. Like it'll never go away. So it's not like a business that I'll have to find a new job eventually. And it's a job where I can help people. Stuff with the mind fascinates me, and so I'm interested in it. So it's just kind of a lot of lines meeting up where it's like, hey, this is cool to you.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, last question. It's a fun one. If you were a fictional character, who would you be? And it could be someone you just really want to be, or you could do like, I think I'm most like this person.
Okay. That's a hard question. When I heard you ask Gordon this in his episode, I was like, oh no, if he asked me that, I have no idea what I'll say. And I still don't have any idea.
Well, you have an advantage. Gordon had to answer it
on the
spot.
I should have come up with it. That's a hard one. I think one that could be cool. I've always thought he was a really cool character. If you've seen The Mentalist.
Oh, yeah.
What's his name?
Jane?
Jane. He's just a classy guy. He wears like 3-piece suits. He's highly intelligent, highly observant. He's pretty funny and witty. He's got all those things. But then I'd put aside the part where his whole family was murdered and he's super traumatized. But he's just a cool character. I like him a lot.
Yeah, that's a good show. It's like those shows like we quote Psych all the time.
Oh, all the time.
But then there's like the other good classic detective shows.
Yeah.
Or a lot of them are a little older, like Monk or whatever. But The Mentalist.
Yeah.
Mentalist has a little bit more serious note, though.
Yeah, it has definitely a more serious vibe. It has some pretty darn funny moments, too.
Oh, yeah, he's super witty.
Yeah. It's less of like slapstick and more of witty stuff, which is kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, there's probably a million other characters I could pick to be or be like, but he's kind of fun.
That's cool. Well, thank you, David, for coming in and for Casting Curious. I'm glad we got to talk and get to know more about Cass and also just about you. Hopefully, the fans enjoyed learning more. Or the listeners. I don't know if we can call them fans.
Hopefully they're fans.
Yeah. But yeah, if you guys want to learn more about David or about any of the cast members, feel free to reach out. We're so open. If you reach out on our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or at this point we should have a Discord. Yeah, if you just reach out, or our email, channeldivinitypodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to contact you guys, get to know you, and if you want to get to know us, we'd love to share more about ourselves. Hopefully, we want to help make this Channel Divinity community grow. Also, if you notice things in the episodes that you think I could do better to edit better, please feel free to email that in or leave it in your comments. I'm always trying to get better at it. And if you like any kinds of sound effects we do, we have that on our website as well. If you just look at attributions, you'll see the people who made those sound effects. Sweet. So yeah, I think that'll be it for this Casting Curious. Thanks, David, for joining me.
No problem. It's great to be here.
And we'll see you guys next time.
All right. Keep tuning in.